Hello, and welcome to Democracy Digest. I'm Grant Hamilton. Today we're diving into one of the most urgent issues dominating the American conversation, the growing crisis at our southern border. Every day, thousands of men, women, and children are making the dangerous trek across deserts, rivers, and remote stretches of land in hopes of entering the United States. The images are striking. Lines of exhausted families waiting for processing, overcrowded shelters, and Border Patrol agents stretched to their limits. This isn't just a statistic. It's a human story and a political battlefield rolled into one. On one side, Republicans are calling for tougher enforcement, more patrols, stronger barriers, and rapid deportations. They argue that unchecked crossings threaten national security, strain public services, and undermine the rule of law. On the other side, Democrats are pressing for a more humane response, pointing to America's history as a nation of immigrants and warning against policies that could put vulnerable lives at risk. The tension has only escalated as communities near the border struggle with limited resources. Local officials report overcrowded hospitals, overflowing shelters, and law enforcement agencies pushed to the brink. Meanwhile, federal authorities admit the system is overwhelmed, with long backlogs in courts and limited space to detain those awaiting hearings. And yet, the crossings continue. Families carry children across rivers in the dead of night. Smugglers profit from desperation. And politicians in Washington trade blame while the crisis deepens. The stakes are high, not just for those seeking entry, but for the millions of Americans watching anxiously as leaders debate how far the nation should go to protect its borders and what kind of country the United States chooses to be in the face of this challenge. At the heart of America's immigration debate lies the question of asylum and broader immigration policy. For decades, the United States has positioned itself as a refuge for those fleeing war, violence, and persecution, but the system designed to process these claims is buckling under immense strain. Families wait months, sometimes years, for their cases to be heard. Court backlogs stretch endlessly, leaving thousands in legal limbo, living in uncertainty, unable to move forward, unsure if they will be granted safety or sent back to dangerous conditions. Policy shifts have only added to the confusion. One administration enforces strict measures like the Remain in Mexico policy, requiring asylum seekers to wait outside U.S. borders for their cases to be processed. Another rolls back those restrictions, opening pathways to enter the country while claims are pending. Each change leaves migrants unsure of their future and communities along the border struggling to adapt to ever-shifting rules. The process itself is daunting. Asylum seekers must provide proof that their lives are in danger, often without legal representation, resources, or the language skills to navigate a complex system. Critics argue that the bar is impossibly high, with genuine cases dismissed because of technicalities, while supporters of tighter policies insist the system is already being abused. To them, the flood of claims represents a loophole, an entry point exploited by those seeking economic opportunity rather than fleeing persecution. But for those on the ground, it is more than a policy fight. Children grow up in shelters, waiting for judges to decide their fate. Parents face impossible choices: risk staying in violence-torn homelands or endure the uncertainty of a years-long legal process. Lawyers and advocacy groups scramble to keep up with demand, while political leaders clash in Washington over what balance of compassion and control should define America's borders. This is not just a legal issue, it's a moral test, one that forces the country to reconcile its identity as a beacon of hope with the harsh realities of a strained immigration system. And every policy, every court ruling, every executive order ripples through the lives of real people whose futures hang in the balance. Beyond security and policy, the immigration crisis reaches directly into America's neighborhoods, workplaces, and pocketbooks. Communities across the nation are feeling the impact, and the debate over whether immigration strengthens or strains the economy is louder than ever. In cities near the border, local governments say their budgets are stretched thin. Hospitals report overcrowding, schools scramble to provide for new students, and shelters operate at capacity. Small towns with limited resources are suddenly tasked with supporting hundreds of new arrivals, creating tension between local residents and newcomers who are simply searching for stability. At the same time, businesses in industries like agriculture, construction, and hospitality argue that immigrant labor is essential. They say these workers fill critical gaps in the workforce, taking jobs that many Americans are unwilling to do. And in doing so, they keep costs down for consumers. Without them, crops go unharvested, projects are delayed, and prices rise. Supporters of immigration insist this is proof that newcomers don't drain the economy, they sustain it. But critics push back, pointing to rising housing costs in already tight markets, competition for low-wage jobs, and social services stretched beyond their limits. They argue that an uncontrolled flow of migrants places an unfair burden on taxpayers and makes it harder for working-class Americans to get ahead. It's a clash of perspectives, each backed by personal stories and hard numbers, yet with no clear consensus on how to strike the balance between economic growth and social stability. This is the heart of the debate. America is grappling not just with how to manage its borders, but with how to define itself in an era of rapid change. Immigration is no longer just a question of who gets in. It's a test of how the nation shares its opportunities, protects its people, and stays true to its ideals. For every family arriving at the border, for every worker hoping for a better life, and for every citizen watching anxiously from home, the choices made now will shape the future of the country for generations to come. I'm Grant Hamilton, and this has been Democracy Digest. Thank you for joining me.